Namaskar and a very good morning to one and all present here. I, Sanjana N. I'm delighted to welcome the incumbent MBA, integrated BBA, MBA, and BBA batch of 2020 to OP Jindal Global University. On behalf of Jindal Global Business School, it is indeed my pleasure today in welcoming young mindsets who have chosen to be a part of one of the best business schools of the nation. We have been a part of this esteemed institution for the last 4 years, and I have witnessed the footsteps of our university across prestigious global platforms. Young people must take it upon themselves to ensure that they receive the highest education possible so that they can represent us well in the future as future leaders, said by Nelson Mandela. We take pride in welcoming our guest of honor for the commencement lecture, Mr. Ajit Chaudhary, the Assistant Vice President, Community Services, Tata Sustainable Group. We welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar, our Registrar of Jindal Global University, Dr. Professor Dabiru Sridhar Patnaik, Professor Dr. Rajesh Chakrabarty, Dean of Jindal Global Business School, Professor Rajesh Kumar, the Vice Dean of Academics, Jindal Global Business School, and our Assistant Deans, Meenakshi Tomar, and the other professors of Jindal Global Business School. It gives us great pleasure to invite Dr. Rajesh Chakrabarty, the Dean of Jindal Global Business School, to formally welcome the gathering. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sanjana. Students, welcome to your new family. You are going to be with us not just for the next 2, 3, or 5 years, depending upon the duration of your program. You are actually going to be with us all your lives. You are now part of Jindal Global University. You are now part of Jindal Global Business School, and you will be with us as students and as alum going forward in time. So welcome again. This is a day of great pleasure and privilege for us to welcome you to our family, and we keenly look forward to spending the next few years with you, helping you in your journey, learning from you, with you. And also, as I'm sure your minds have gone to this is a very unique commencement event. We normally, of course, meet in person, and all of us here are very keen to have that second physical commencement sometime very soon. I think I'm sure the Vice Chancellor will help us organize one when we celebrate returning to a beautiful campus. I have been privileged to visit that campus frequently in the last several weeks, and I can tell you, it's verdant, green. It's lush, welcoming, full of some amount of wildlife and migratory birds. The only thing is, it's also woefully vacant. It's just waiting for footfalls. It's waiting for the student body, waiting for all of you to arrive there. And so are we. So this is the first commencement of your journey here, and we are all very keenly looking forward to that other, more intimate commencement sometime very soon. So I'm not going to take much longer. I'm just going to welcome you again. And just before ending, I just want to say one thing about today's commencement lecture, and also our speaker today. In your journeys here, as you earn your degrees and learn management, I think it's important for us, and that's the vision of Jindal Global Business School as well, is that you do not think of management and business simply as a way of getting rich quick. It is certainly, business is about value creation. That's extremely important. But business education, management education is also about being responsible citizen. That is the vision of the school. And I cannot think of anyone who can embody and elaborate on that vision better than our speaker today. So we are very privileged to have Mr. Ajit Chaudhary amongst us. and we all look forward to his address. And with those words, and I welcome you again to the school, and look forward to spending the next few years with all of you. Over to you, Sanjana.
Hello. Thank you, Professor. We would like to now invite our respected registrar, Professor W. Sridhar Patnaik, for presenting the opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, dear friends, and Rajesh in particular. Congratulations to everyone for the inauguration of the academic year 2021. And we are also thankful to Mr. Ajit Chaudhary for having accepted our invitation to deliver the inaugural or the commencement lecture to all the new students and also the existing students of the Jindal Global Business School. Before I move any further, I would like to personally and even on behalf of the university congratulate all the new students who obtained admission to join Jindal Global Business School of the Jindal Global University. Normally, this time of the year, we do have all our activities in physical spaces in terms of the commencement lectures, the regular classes, and all the curricular and even the co-curricular activities. But due to the unfortunate COVID circumstances, we are not able to hold classes or lectures in physical spaces. But nonetheless, at the same time, it's a relative advantage we are all deriving from having our activities virtually and online because there is a great attraction, and we are happy to know that many of our students' parents, friends, and relatives are also able to participate in these activities. So it's a distinct privilege for me to be delivering the opening remarks, and I would also would not hasten to add that all the students out there, it's a privilege to you also to be a part of the JGBS because unlike many of the other business schools that we have within the country and elsewhere in the region, the JGBS is not a unitary school, but it's a part of an imagination called JGU, which has now become so very realistic in terms of an imagination that has carefully factored in a multidisciplinary approach to higher education, in particular, be it business, law, liberal arts, or you name it, any other disciplines in the field of humanities and social sciences. So this would give you a very distinct and a rich experience in terms of focusing on your education by giving you an opportunity to draw insights from other disciplines and schools of the university, which I just mentioned, alongside the curricular aspects in relation to business and management. And there is another very important philosophical strand to the point that I'm making, which gives you an opportunity to develop your graduate attributes, something in consonance with even the vision of the school and the university that Professor Rajesh Chakrabarty rightfully touched upon. Many a times when we talk about business management or business education, we speak in terms of the material entities. But at the end of the day, all these matters, they would not operate in a vacuum. You're going to engage with people, you're going to engage with the society and even the business organizations, and organizations, whether they are for profit or not for profit, they function in the realm of a society. So what we require is a holistic approach to learn best practices in management and education related to management, and at the same time even to have those best practices that are sustainable in nature and that are also environment friendly, and even something that does a world of good to the community at large. So that way the choice of the speaker and even the choice of the topic, it sits very well in terms of what the school does in offering its education to each one of you, and even what you can expect by being a part of the school. And that also reflects in a way the larger motto of the university as a private university, promoting public service. So at the end of the day, you all, we assume, and rightfully so, you are going to become responsible citizens of the university and even of the society, and you're going to develop best and holistic and comprehensive practices when you get an opportunity to lead corporations or even to venture into any other endeavors that you intend to take up pursuant to your education over here. So we earnestly believe that such a learning and even those qualities are very important for you to prosper as an individual and thus even contribute responsibly to a given society. On this particular note, I must also make a mention that being at a university is indeed a privilege, but also a great responsibility. I would appeal to each one of you to take up responsibility towards others and even towards your own learning and have a vision for yourself and also respect for the university regulations, for the spaces and the diversity that we have in the university. But having said this, I must make a mention, JGU, by its very nature, in offering education in arts and humanities and social sciences, we believe in individuals and we believe in human spaces. So we do have an egalitarian approach. And such approaches shall make you more stronger as a student so that you become a better individual and a better professional, as I had just mentioned. But at the same time, you ought to be more responsible and understand the nature and purpose of being at a university. Therefore, I recommend that you utilize the opportunity that is now being given to you by the university and thankfully by the support and encouragement of your parents that you need to ideate, get into long-term planning and benefit from the learning and other related opportunities that we provide within the classroom and outside the classroom and exercise your freedom and responsibility with a sense of discretion. Before I conclude, I would like to thank the school, the dean, and its faculty members, and all the relevant offices associated with the formulation of this wonderful program. For all their efforts, I would like to acknowledge and I would like to thank each one of them for bringing all of us together this morning. So on this particular note, I stop and I look forward to listening to Mr. Ajit Chaudhary along with each one of you. And I also wish that sooner than later, we will have an opportunity to work further and collaborate with Mr. Ajit Chaudhary, because the kind of work that he has been doing as part of his endeavors also is something which is in consonance with the work that we do at the university, both in the law school and also in the business school, towards contributing to the Swachhata practices and all other community initiatives that we take up. So thank you once again, and I welcome each one of you to the school.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. OP Jindal Global University was established in 2009 with the principles and vision of our Honorable Founding Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar. It is because of his guidelines that he set up for all of us that today we are one of the youngest universities to be a part of the global top 150 QS rankings and have been awarded the Institute of Eminence by the Government of India. Along with this, we have also been ranked as the top private university in the country. He's a wonderful inspiration for the entire JGU fraternity. It is a pleasure to invite Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar, our founding Vice Chancellor, to formally address the gathering. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Sanjana, and of course, our very distinguished Dean of our business school, Professor Rajesh Chakrabarty, Abhilash, Professor Brajesh Kumar, and our registrar, Professor Murthy and Meenakshi, and of course, our distinguished commencement speaker, Mr. Chaudhary. For all the students who have joined the Jindal Global Business School, I would like to express my heartfelt congratulations. It's an extraordinary moment for the students who have joined the Jindal Global Business School in its 3-year BBA honors program, in its 5-year integrated BBA MBA program, as well as in its MBA program. I want to particularly talk to the students who are in high school, who have completed the 12th standard examination successfully You couldn't even take a break before you could actually have a vacation or even spend time with your family. You are here entering into a university education for pursuing your undergrad degrees. And so you have, in a way, shown extraordinary resilience in a very difficult time. People around the world are obviously facing this global pandemic. And at this time, you have chosen to join a university to pursue your educational opportunities. That itself shows your grit and determination to pursue your own future. So normally, I would have been here to welcome you on campus, to have you, experience our campus. But I'm going to do the second best thing. I'm going to quickly show you how the campus just now looks like. So this is the campus. It's a 100-acre, beautiful, fully residential campus, which is actually waiting for you. You can actually see, so many things here. This is the front side of the campus with the views of the flagpole, but also many other things. Now, as Rajesh remarked, the campus is, of course, is not having its soul. And the soul of the campus is actually the students and all of you. So I look forward to seeing you on campus sooner than later. Although what is now paramount is for all of us to ensure that the safety and security and well-being is much more important. But then we have, of course, taken a call very early on to ensure that the academic imagination is not at all interrupted regardless of this crisis. On 17th August of this year, we began a new academic session of all our existing students. And as promised, on 1st September, we began the academic session of all our schools in our for the new students. In some ways, at a time when schools, colleges, universities in India and around the world are struggling to ensure that the academic continuity is not affected, OP Jindal Global University and Jindal Global Business School and other schools of JGU have already taken a lead to ensure that your academic future is not in any way impacted, adversely affected because of the global pandemic. I can only hope that much of your anxieties and concerns will be addressed as you enter into the portals of this institution today, but also as you begin your classes and engage with your teachers. I'm particularly grateful to Mr. Ajit Chaudhary, Assistant Vice President, Community Services of the Tata Sustainability Group, for taking the time out to deliver the commencement lecture. Now, of course, this group of students who are part of this commencement lecture belong to a diverse set of imaginations. There are high school leavers who are entering into the 3-year BBA as well as the integrated BBA MBA program. And then there are people who are already graduates and possibly who have had work experience who are entering into the MBA program. Both sets of students are obviously present in today's commencement lecture. But what I want to do in the next few minutes before we have our commencement speaker address you is that briefly talk about the vision of the university and our evolution, but also to talk a bit about what I see is your potential future. OP Jindal Global University was created as a philanthropic initiative of our founding chancellor and benefactor, Mr. Naveen Jindal. Mr. Jindal had the vision and the farsightedness to invest in higher education. But unlike many private individuals who invest in higher education, he did not see this as a profit-making initiative. His commitment was threefold. One, to make a substantial financial commitment to build a world-class university. Second, to do it in a not-for-profit manner. And third, to give academic freedom and ensure autonomy and independence to build a world-class university in India. He committed to all of that and ensured that that became the foundation of the university. I'm very privileged to be working here as a founding Vice Chancellor of the university. And this journey that me and my colleagues undertook over 11 years ago has culminated in we creating a new imagination for higher education in India. At a time when India has just announced the National Education Policy 2020 with the vision and aspiration to build excellence and global context into Indian higher education, we began that journey over 12 years ago. And so we are very delighted to welcome all of you to Jindal Global Business School. Now, of course, today's commencement speaker is going to speak about a particular type of aspiration within the business school context. But I also wanted to know that careers as well as opportunities in business is wide-ranging. Now, of course, one of the remarkable things about the work that Tata as a group does is that it's not just a company. It is not just a corporation. It's an institution. The vision of Tata Group, and indeed the founders of Tata Group, were part of a vision to build an institution that will cater to numerous aspirations of society. The values of that group also has been translated into many corporations and companies, and including the vision that Mr. Naveen Jindal had in establishing O.P. Jindal Global University as a tribute to his father, Shri O.P. Jindal. I am going to give you a much shorter version of what I think is going to be your future. And I believe these 10 aspects that I'm going to quickly outline, what I'm calling the 10 P's, I believe will help you significantly shape your future. The first is patience. Develop a sense of patience early on, because if you are patient, you will not only conquer the world, but will also be able to achieve your goals and aspirations. At a time when some of the most fundamental aspects of what we all believe has been challenged due to COVID-19, it's useful to develop certain values of patience. Second, purpose. The development of a deep sense of purpose in your life early on is going to help you achieve your goals. In fact, a lot of young people in many aspects of their life and career lose that sense of purpose, did not work towards developing that sense of purpose. If you look at the people who have made a difference to the society at large, they have always had a deep sense of purpose. So the second P is purpose. Third P is passion. Always develop a deep sense of passion. When you are passionate about what you want to do, you will excel. You will bring out the best in you. So develop a deep sense of passion and be passionate about what you're doing. Fourth P is perseverance. Now, of course, today, during COVID-19, you can imagine what is happening to organizations, companies, business enterprises, universities, colleges. The challenges that we are all asked to address is quite enormous. And the only way by which we can overcome these challenges and the future challenges is to be having a deep sense of perseverance. Never say no to any challenge that comes your way. So the fourth P is perseverance. The fifth P is something that I've very strongly believed in: perfection. Always work towards seeking meticulous level of perfection. The sloppiness that we see around us, be it in the work that we do, be it in the kind of responsibilities people undertake, people simply have many ways abdicated their responsibility when it comes to seeking meticulousness. So as students of Jindal Global Business School, I would like you to focus on perfection. And the art and science of perfection will enable you to constantly improve yourself. The sixth P is preparation. I've always believed that it's not about native intelligence, nor for that matter, acquired brilliance. It's really about preparing. How well you are prepared will shape your future. If you prepare well for your classes, if you prepare well for your assignments, if you prepare well for your coursework, if you prepare well for your internships, if you prepare well for your examinations, nobody will stop you to achieve excellence. So preparation is the sixth P. The seventh P is punctual. Now, this is again one of the tragedies of many people around the world, including organizations. People have developed a culture of not being punctual. Early on, as you enter into the portals of an institution, this aspect of being punctual and developing it as part of your character and personality will always put you in good stead. The 8th P is pride. Have a sense of pride in what you're doing. Feel privileged, but yet have a sense of pride as to what you're doing. That sense of pride is going to attach and add meaning and purpose to your life. Being proud of what you do will help you bring out the best in you. The 9th P is possibility, imagination. Now, you are, of course, very privileged at a time when you are actually receiving online education. Do you know that only less than 12% of Indian households have any form of reasonable, uninterrupted internet connection, electricity, and have an equipment for people to pursue online education? UNESCO has said that millions of people around the world in schools, colleges, universities are simply completely deprived of an opportunity to pursue education during COVID-19 because of the large-scale digital divide that prevails in our country, but also beyond. You are privileged. With this privilege, you have possibilities to imagine about your future, to make a difference to society at large. And the 10th P is power. The power that you derive out of education and experience and skills and knowledge that you will acquire at Jindal Global Business School will help you to make a difference. And that power is about making a difference. It's of course about adding value and acquiring wealth and even getting jobs and seeking return on investment in education, and all of that is important. But ultimately, the power that comes with wealth as well as other forms of privileges is about making a difference. So I can only hope that with all these 10 P's that I quickly talked about, patience and purpose and passion and perseverance and perfection and preparation and punctual and pride and possibility and power, you, the students of Jindal Global Business School, you, the future alumni of OP Jindal Global University, are going to make a difference. I look forward to welcoming you to campus sooner than later. This is also an opportunity for you to thank your parents, your family members, and others who have helped you in your journey to achieve where you are. From now on, it is about you trying to make the best use of the opportunities that are going to be given to you and to make a difference. Congratulations, the incoming class of 2020 of Jindal Global Business School. I look forward to seeing you soon on campus. Thank you. Sanjana, over to you.
Thank you, sir, for the warm welcome and also familiarizing us, the incumbent batch with the 10 Ps, and also letting them have a glimpse of what our beautiful campus is. Aristotle once said that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. It means that to be educated does not depend on how many books you have read, but depends on how deeply you are influenced by the books you have read. Education can be a way to understand who you are. Today, as the batch of 2020 at Jindal Global Business School starts their academic journey, we are sure that you all wish to be influenced and motivated by success stories of many renowned people who have created values for a society, and their contribution to the society speaks volumes. On this note, we are proud to commence the new academic year by inviting our guest of honor, Mr. Ajit Chaudhary, Assistant Vice President, Community Services, Tata Sustainability Group, a group that believes in making a difference. Mr. Ajit Chaudhary holds a bachelor's degree in economics from the Sri Ram College of Commerce, a master's in rural management from the Institute of Rural Management, IRMA, and is currently pursuing a PhD in public policy also at IRMA. He is a recipient of the Shevling Gurukul Scholarship. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Two quick questions. Am I audible, first of all?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
And how much time do I have, Professor Chakrabarty?
You have, I think we still have about 40 minutes for sure.
Okay, so I'll speak for about 30 and then if that's okay. So let me begin by firstly thanking Professor Rajkumar, Professor Patnaik, and Professor Chakrabarty for what they've said earlier. I wish Professor Rajkumar that my own team got to hear this and the 10 Ps and so on, because it is as relevant in mid-career as it is to young students at this stage to whom you are addressing at this moment. So thank you all. It's a huge honor to be here and a privilege, but also a responsibility that I'm speaking to about 350 people who are about to commence management education. And just right at the beginning, I'm supposed to talk about responsible management in practice. It's a huge honor, and I hope I can do justice to this subject, which I must admit I've been thinking about for the past 3 days, that what actually is responsible management, and over and above that, what is responsible management in practice rather than in theory. But first, in the course of welcoming you all, what is going to be ahead for you? I'm delighted to know that so many of you are thinking of pursuing management both as a course of study and as careers ahead of you. What are you going to actually face in your life as you go along? I'd like to go back to an essay written by the philosopher Bertrand Russell in 1932. And this was a time before the word management was a field of study. He wrote an essay called In Praise of Idleness. And he said, quote, "Work is of two kinds. First, altering the position of matter at or near the Earth's surface relative to other such matter. And second, telling other people to do so. The first kind is unpleasant and ill-paid. The second is pleasant and highly paid. The second kind is also capable of indefinite extension. There are not only those who give orders, but those who give advice as to what orders should be given." So where does management fall in this? I think we can safely say that it's not the first kind. You're not going to be doing unpleasant work and ill-paid work for the most part. But what actually is going to be ahead of you? I don't think it's that pleasant. I don't think it's going to be that well paid. It may or may not be. Some of us are lucky, some of us are not. I'll talk about this a little as we go ahead. But usually, and unfortunately this time you're having a commencement lecture virtually. But if we were sitting face to face, I think I would ask one of you to introduce yourselves and then say that please look left, introduce yourself to your left, the person on your left, introduce yourself to the person on your right, and then the people you've introduced yourself to, they introduce themselves to the person on their right and left respectively. And we have a group of 5 people there, 5 people who are going to be management students and who I assume will be MBAs and pursuing careers in the field of management after this. Of the 5, by the law of averages, what is going to happen? You'll find that of these 5, one of these 5 will actually reach a position of senior management. By senior management, I mean that they'll be taking strategic decisions, corporate strategy decisions. They'll be sitting in boardrooms. They'll be deciding things of consequence and so on. What happens to the others? You'll find that a few of you, of these 5, probably one of you, will drop out in some way or the other after your education and go into, find that management doesn't really suit you, probably go into organic farming or, write books or design clothes or become a celebrity chef or something like that. And you'll be surprised how many of these people are actually MBAs. Some of you will go into business, maybe family businesses that are already there, but also those of you who go into startups and set up your own businesses from scratch. Some of you will go into other professions, go into government, go into academia, go into consulting. I think many of your professors are MBAs. I know that Professor Chakrabarty is an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and he's gone into academia. So some of you will go into academia and be teaching and writing and researching and so on. And some of you will also go into management, but will sort of reach middle management levels, what we call the rabbit warrens of middle management. Only one of you will actually go into senior management. And of every 5 of you who reach senior management, probably one of you will be a CEO. right? So that's the law of averages. And I can tell you another thing, that of the 340 or 350 people in front of me today, there is no way of telling who is going to be what at this stage, or even after your studies. There's no way of telling. And if any HR firm or any consulting or any scientist or any academic is able to figure out a way, which are going to be the dropouts, which are going to be the CEOs, which are going to be the senior management, which are going to be the academics, which are going to be the government, they'll get a Nobel Prize. Because at this time, there's no way of figuring this out. And even after your course, you'll find that there's no way of figuring this out. It happens as it goes along. The other thing that you can expect ahead of you is that you will be working very, very hard. And you will find that everybody around you also works very, very hard and is very, very intelligent, right? How does your work go? After you do your MBA, you join a job. There are many of you in that job join management trainees or young managers or whatever it is. And you find that the first few years of your profession, you sort of go along, and you learn a little about this department, that department, and that sort of stuff. And then usually in your late 20s or early 30s, that's when the high flyers are identified in life. And they are given the opportunities that enable you to rise. What are these sort of opportunities? Typically, they are opportunities where all aspects of management converge. You're sitting at a level where all aspects of management, the finance side, the marketing side, the accounts, the legal side, all of them converge into this one. So it's what they call a cost center or a profit center or something like that. You're put in charge of a business. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a 24/7 job. For the next 2 to 3 years, you will be answerable all the time. There's no such thing as weekends. There's no such thing as holidays. 24/7, 52 weeks a year for the entire time that you're actually managing a profit center or a cost center or managing a business. It's also the time when many of you are looking at starting your families and that sort of thing. But you can be sure that all those who reach senior management, when they were between 28 and 35, they have done this stint as managing an entire at a level where all aspects of a business converge. And there are huge compromises to be made in that. The thing is that if you don't do it, you're not going to reach a boardroom. And those who reach boardrooms and take decisions in boardrooms, they all have this experience there when they were. It's like, to give you a military analogy, generals need to have fought wars when they are lieutenants, captains, or majors, because that's the rank in the officer cadre where you are in the front line of a war. If you haven't fought a war at that time in your life, you are not going to be useful as a general. And similarly, you're not going to be useful in a boardroom if you haven't managed all aspects of a business, been at a level where all aspects converge between the age of 28 and 35. And that has huge consequences for your family. There's probably the time you're looking at setting up, having children, and so on. So these are some of the contradictions that you're going to face in your careers. So those who plan to reach boards, those who plan to go into senior management, be sure that when those opportunities come up, and I think Professor Rajkumar was talking about the need to take on challenges and so on. That's the sign of somebody who's going to go ahead in life, that they take on challenges. They take on these challenges and they accept the compromises that are involved in taking on such challenges. I've been asked particularly to speak about responsible management in practice. I wonder how qualified I am to speak about it. I've done about 6 years in Tata Sons. I think many of you know the Tata Group. Tata Sons is the holding company in the Tata Group. I work for Tata Sons. I'm an assistant vice president there. I handle something called community services, which is part of the Tata Sustainability Group, the sustainability function within Tata Sons. Before that, I'd done some time with the National Dairy Development Board early in my career. And that was another place where responsible management was certainly put into practice. And so I'd like to see from an outsider's perspective, because I'm not really from the corporate sector. I've done the past 6 years in the corporate sector. Before that, I was in academia, actually. I was trying to do a PhD, a full-time PhD. And before that, I was in the social development sector. So I have the skeptical mind that is required of all PhDs, or of all people in academia. And I can safely say that I can look at things and see, okay, where is it that responsible management is actually put into practice in the Tata Group and in stints that I've done earlier in management. Let me begin by saying something about my founder in Tata Group. This is Jamshedji Tata. He made a statement more than 100 years ago. 100 years ago is a time when India was under British rule. There was no subject called management. The Tata Group was probably about, we are about 150 years old now, 152 years old now. He said something, and quote, "In a free enterprise, the community is not just another stakeholder in business, but is in fact the very purpose of its existence." Unquote. Let me say that again, slowly. Quote, "In a free enterprise, the community is not just another stakeholder in business, but is in fact the very purpose of its existence." Unquote. Most Tata people, when they're talking to outside people, they use this line when they're making a presentation. And, most people have, a lot of people have heard it before and they roll their eyes. Okay, we live in a cynical world. This is just another nice line from somewhere. But I've seen in the 6 years that I've spent in the Tata Group, I can say that this has been put into practice. And it's sort of within every Tata employee's DNA, that the importance of community in doing everything that you do. How did our founder actually put this into practice, that these don't remain nice words and they're actually something that we can live by? I think the first thing that he did was he ensured that the wealth of the profits, they don't go back to any person. And therefore you'll find that he created a structure for the Tata Group in which you have 100+ companies. Now, most people, when we talk about how many companies we have in the Tata Group, we use 100+. It's because it depends on how you count. Sometimes you include the joint ventures and the wholly owned subsidiaries of companies, or sometimes you don't. But either way, so whenever we are saying it in general, we say 100+. So there are about 100+ companies. Over them is something called a holding company, which has a controlling shareholding interest in each of these companies. And this is Tata Sons, where I work. But 66% of Tata Sons is owned by something called the Tata Trusts. And therefore, much of the profits that the Tata Group earns goes back to the Tata Trusts, and the sole purpose of Tata Trusts is to give back to the country for the social development of the country. It's to give it back. That's the only purpose it has. If I do well, I'm not making some fat guy fatter. It goes to the Tata Trusts, and the Tata Trusts put it back into the country in the form of education, health programs, now in COVID and so on, setting up institutions in public interest, etc., etc. And that's why you find, if you look at any Forbes rich list, which fascinates most of us, you'll wonder, there's no name called Tata in these rich lists. And this is the reason why, that the wealth we create is put into a trust, and the trust puts back into the country in the form of social development initiatives, health, education, etc. We'll never be having a Tata name in any rich list. It's also about how we are federated. Again, I work for the holding company. The holding company has a controlling interest in each of these countries, the companies that the 100+ companies. But a person from Tata Sons does not have the right to tell a company what to do. It is their own boards that operate. I, as an AVP in Tata Sons, cannot go to Tata Steel and say, do this to me. I have to depend on my own credibility and persuasiveness towards this. It's not by mandate. The Tata Group does not. The power is in the companies and works back upwards to Tata Sons and back to Tata Trusts. So this is how we are structured. It's structured to be a little responsible in a different way to other groups in the country. But it's not just in that. It's also in the fact that we separate two things. How we make money, which is our business, and what we do with our money, which is what we do with our profits, our social responsibilities, etc., etc. And we see that the value system permeates into both how we make the money and how we use the profits that we make. It's not that we make the money through whatever means possible and then do nice things on the side and feel good about ourselves. But it's also in how we make the money. It's in how our businesses are run. It's in how we are managed and so on. And you find that some things about the Tata Group that I can tell you is one that, as an employer, we are a little responsible. I'm now talking pre-independence and immediately post-independence time. Things, some welfare, basic welfare measures. The fact that an 8-hour workday, it became legally binding in India only in 1948 with the Indian Factories Act. But in the Tata Group, it was implemented in 1912. The fact that you work only 8 hours a day, otherwise labor had to work, as long as it took. The issue of medical aid, free medical aid in the Tata Group, 1950. In the country legally, 1948. Leave with pay. In the country, 1948. In the Tata Group, 1920 was when we set up a scheme for leave with that people could actually go on leave and have a holiday with their pay. Provident Fund in the Tata Group, 1920. In the country, 1952. So some things about what it takes to be a responsible business. It's more than just observing the law. It's about looking at being a responsible employer. It's about being having a responsible value chain as well. That it's one thing very nice that in your own campuses, in your own factories, in your own places of work, that things are very nice. But what about the businesses that supply you? What about the businesses that supply the businesses that supply you? The second tier, the third tier in your value, in your supply chain. What about them? Do they observe minimum wages? Do they observe things like equal pay for men and women? Do they observe that there should be no child labor? Believe me, it's remarkably difficult to keep a check on your 5th year of your supply chain. But we try to do it. We try to see that the laws that are applicable to us are also applicable in our supply chain and that they are implemented in our supply chain and in our value chain, in our distributors and so on as well. So you'll find that the Tata Group, we are about 700,000 employees in the Tata Group. Each employee, on average, there'll be about 7 people in the value chain for each employee. Each of these people dependent on the Tata Group in some way. Each of these people would have a family of about, on average, 5 people dependent on them on what they earn and that sort of thing. Look at the numbers and think. That's what you need to be, a responsible employer, because the number of people who are dependent on you is huge. And responsible employment, it takes effort and it takes time and it takes resources and so on. But this is the numbers that we affect in the course of our work. The Tata Group, again, we find that we don't talk too much. And if we have to talk, we generally talk only after we've done something. I remember once we were, it was in the aftermath of a disaster. I forget which one. And one of my teams, I think it was Bihar floods or Nepal earthquake. In Nepal earthquake, I would have been there myself. With Bihar floods, I wasn't there myself, but my team was there. And I was sitting with friends and we were watching TV with some friends and we were watching TV. And then in the news, this came, some company that was doing some work on flood group. And I mentioned that one of my teams is also in the RRER district in Bihar doing flood-related relief measures we were taking. And they asked me, why don't you guys talk about it? Why aren't you guys on the news saying, that this is what you're doing and so on? Why is it that only other people are doing that? And we said that, in the Tata Group, people expect us to be. If the community is in difficulty, if their community is in difficulty, if they're suffering from a disaster, if they are in emergency situations, people expect the Tata Group to be there. It would be news if the Tata Group was not there, not that if the Tata Group was there. That's what it means to be a responsible business. We talk a lot about, integrity and so on. I mean, in the Tata Group, we have a code of conduct and that sort of stuff. And it says, you don't pay bribes and that sort of stuff. it means certain things. A responsible business, it's not just about not paying bribes and so on. And I remember one of my earlier bosses, he was, this is in my National Dairy Development Board days, Dr. Verghese Kurian, again, another great, the White Revolution, milk, Operation Flood, Amul, these were all set up by him. He said that integrity is like pregnancy. You either are or you aren't. There's no shades of gray in between or anything like that. That's one. And two, that there's no conflict in the organization between performance and integrity. You can't say that you performed badly because you were not able to pay bribes to get things done. Sorry. You have to get things done, and you have to not pay bribes, and you have to get things done. And in the long term, it makes, for example, in the Tata Group, I can tell you that people don't like to ask, they don't think they waste their time asking us for bribes, because most people know that we don't pay it, and we pay the cost of not paying bribes in this country. And that's what it takes to be a responsible business. It's about keeping your commitments. When you say something, you keep your commitments. We are under a lot of pressure to make, in the sustainability space. A lot of businesses are saying that we'll be carbon neutral by 2050 or 2030 or something like that. We've not said anything so far. Why is that? It's because we are making a roadmap towards it. We want to see, one, is it possible? And if it's possible, then we need to have a roadmap by which we can do this. We can be carbon neutral by 2050 or 2030 or whatever it is. And only after doing that will we make any sort of public announcement about it. What we will not do is to make a grand public announcement and then leave it to our successors. We have professional managers right from the chairman downwards. So they're not going to be there in 2050 when this commitment is, you're going to be held to your commitment. But we don't want to put our successors into a spot where they are having to answer questions as to why you did not keep this grand commitment that was made in 2020 about your carbon neutrality. So we are working towards carbon neutrality, but we are not making grand announcements because we will first have a roadmap in place before we make any sort of announcement on carbon emissions. So I think, so what does this all mean? I mean, I've given you some examples of what it takes to be a responsible business. But what does it actually mean for a business to be a responsible business? And I can say one or two things in this. And the first is that we find that we are 150 years old. And we want to be here for another 150 years. And if you plan to be here for a long time, as a business, if you plan to be here for a long time, you don't have the option of not being a responsible business. You're not trying to set up something which you're trying to sell to somebody else quickly. You're planning to be here for a long, long time. And we have generations of employees. I'm a second generation Tata employee. Many people are third generation in place. In Jamshedpur, for example, there are many third generation Tata employees. I'm sure some of you may have a connection with Tatas. I've seen in every group of 350 people, there'll be some people with a connection with Tatas. It's a sort of commitment to society and to people in this country. And if you plan to be here for 150 years, you can't avoid being a responsible business. Another thing that we did a study some years back, and we found that in this 100+ companies that we are in, we are the industry leaders in the top 3 in any business sector that we are in. But our pay is at the 70th percentile of most in that sector, within that sector, controlling for level and that sort of thing. So Tata Group is not a great paymaster. It's at the 70th. Despite being an industry leader, we are at the 70th percentile for pay. Why is it? Why is it people prefer to work? Why is it that good people prefer to work with us rather than work in other places where the pay is much more? And I think it comes down to the fact that you are a responsible business, you are a value-based business. We combine values with business success. The values are sort of internal to us. I talked about how we make the money. I also wanted to say something about what we do with our money, the money that we make, the profits and so on. I can talk a lot about CSR. We are well known for our corporate social responsibility initiatives and so on. some of you would know that I think 2013, the Companies Act changed and corporate social responsibility spend became mandatory. You had to spend 2% of your profit after tax on social responsibility initiatives. We found that we do actually, if we were to observe the law, we'd have to spend less than what we are doing now. We've been doing CSR for over 100 years. We've been doing disaster response for a long time as well. I think at the time of independence, we were running refugee camps during the partition time and so on. We were running refugee camps. Today, in COVID, we are in the forefront. In the Nepal earthquake, we were in the forefront. Floods in Kashmir, we were in the forefront. The flash floods in Uttarakhand, we were in the forefront of efforts. And the value system is such that you don't write checks to other people about doing it. You put yourselves out there. Our own teams are doing it. Our own teams of managers, of people across the group who come together from different companies and become teams and go and work on relief and rehabilitation measures and so on. Not the business of writing checks to other people to do this. This is what it means. There's a certain separation of interests also. I find that, value, if we are, for example, getting a relief kit for disaster response, and it has, say, something like a solar lamp. Now, we manufacture solar lamps, but are we obliged? Is my team, which is purchasing solar lamps, are we obliged to go to a Tata company to purchase their solar lamps? Not at all. We say that give us the best quality at the lowest price, a fair purchase system. And if there's a Tata company which makes the product, either it should give us the same product at a better price, at a lower price, or a better product at the same price. Otherwise, we are under no obligation to go with the Tata product in our relief. And we've also gone, we put Bajaj solar lamps, etc., into this because they were cheaper, better products. So there's a complete separation. And that's also a value that, the social side is not there to promote the business or anything like that. And Tata Trust, again, there was a clear separation. Some of you know the scandals of from the news of, I think, 2016, 17, and so on. But before that, there was a clear separation of what, and today also is being implemented, a clear separation between the interests of the Tata Trust, which have a duty to the development of the country as a whole, as opposed to the business side of Tata, which is to sell products which are of value to people, products and services which are of value to people. So this is something, and I was talking a little about how it affects being a value-based organization, being a responsible organization, a responsible management, how it affects. And one was, I told you that our pay is not the best, but we still attract the best people. Why is that? And we don't know why it is. We assume that it's something to do with the fact that, people feel comfortable. People who have a high value system, they feel comfortable in this group. But also it's a level of trust and respect that we have within society. And again, in disaster response, I find that I have to go to many places where Tata does not have a presence, but everyone knows who we are. And, office is open, government office is open, the doors are open, political doors are also open because we are a Tata. And it gives great responsibility as well. And I can give you one example. Again, I was the manager who was handling flood relief distribution in Kashmir, in Srinagar town and Baramulla district and Anantnag district. And my management, I was the field manager at that time. I was on the ground managing it. And my bosses said that, be safe. And if being safe means that you don't put your name there, in the goods. That normally we say we are the Tata group and we are giving the relief. He said that if you need to be quiet about that, go ahead and be quiet about it. But your safety is most important. And we went to communities and asked, should we keep quiet about the fact that we are Tata, or should we and just act like another relief agency, or should we say somewhere that we are Tata? And we found on the ground, that people trust you because you're Tata. And we found better behavior among recipients of relief out there in the valley. Because they know, one, they trust Tata. Two, they know that everyone who needs relief will get relief because we have the resources behind us, and that we'll do it correctly. There's certain, implicit trust, and it has great responsibility for the managers in Tata, because there's an expectation that you do things, you don't just do things, but you do things correctly and in a certain way, and so on. So the responsibility of that comes on to, where the managers on the ground, and that is sometimes quite a, I must say, quite a burden. But in the Tata group, the value system, when something happens, when there's an emergency, in other places, we find that when we are with external audience, we are asked, why are you doing this? What's in it for you? What's in it for Tata that you're doing, that you're going to Nepal where you don't have a presence except that, you sell some trucks there and that sort of stuff. Otherwise, but in the aftermath of the Nepal earthquake, our own teams were there on the Chinese border with Nepal in the worst villages, giving relief in these places where you had to, walk for 4 hours and to reach places with 4x4 vehicles and so on. And we gave, I think, 350 tons of relief was given at that time to worst affected, not Kathmandu and around Kathmandu and so on, worst affected places. People ask us, what's in it for you? Why do you have to do it? But we find that that's a question only asked by outsiders. In Tata, you are never asked the question, why are you doing this? What's in it for us? In Tata, we are only asked, why are we not doing more? Why are we not doing something? Why are we not doing more? That's something called the Tata culture. That you're with the community, and it's internal to us that we are with the community, we are with communities in this time of crisis and so on, and that includes in COVID these days. In COVID, I must admit, we are still grappling with what needs to be done. I mean, I was very impressed by how the university system and certainly your university has got things into place. And I certainly envy all of you that what a beautiful campus to be going into as soon as it's possible. But as companies, we are reeling from the downturn and so on. And we know that it's not the end, and it's not even the beginning of the end. At best, it's the end of the beginning, the stage that we are in now. We don't know how we're going, but still, to us, it's important that not only we recover, but the communities we serve also recover, and we are putting aside resources and so on for that. I'd like to close by giving you some sort of minor advice. Take it from somebody who's near retirement, who's been on the ground a long time, has faced all the controversies that you want to face in life, and been non-profit sector, academia, corporate sector, and different education as well, and so on. So different fields, and I'm near retirement, and I can say there's some things that I can tell you as young people, which I'd like to tell you from the heart at this stage, right itself. And you may wish to take it, you may wish not to. That's the lovely thing about advice. They say is that you don't have to take it. But so here's my advice for you as you go ahead before we go into questions and so on. One is take your education seriously. Education ultimately is the only asset that you're sure is going to stay with you right through your career, right through your life, until later when you're, probably some of you will suffer from dementia and so on. But until then, this is the only asset that you can be sure that will stay with you also. Take it seriously. It's not something to be compromised on. It's not something to waste. It's not something to be dropped out of easily or anything like that. You have to expend not only time, money, etc., but you have to take it seriously, because your garis and your bungalows and your cash and whatnot, it's here today, it's gone tomorrow. You never know about life. This is the one asset that is going to stay with you right through. Take it seriously, because it's the only asset that you're sure of which will stay with you. That's the first bit. Second thing is related to this, that don't chase money. Money is something, I mean, economic students will tell you it's a store of value, a medium of exchange, etc., etc. But ultimately, it's here today, it goes tomorrow. Some days you have it, some days you don't. Most people who do great things actually paid surprisingly little, because there's a strong public service element in jobs that require you to which have the opportunity to do really great things for society as a whole. People who chase money and are concerned about what their salary is all the time and what their they usually don't go into that line, into greatness. It's a difficult combination, chasing money and doing great things in life. My request to you all would be, don't chase money. Don't have a reputation also for chasing money, for somebody who changes jobs because somebody's offering a few thousand rupees more or something like that. People like this don't get anywhere. Think of your careers. Money is just a means. Today you have it, tomorrow you don't. Don't take it too seriously. The third is, don't worry so much about why you're doing what you're doing. If it feels right, you should probably pursue it. The rationality and so on, and it comes in, but and I remember Steve Jobs at one of his speeches, he talked about how he was, he had enrolled in a university, but had dropped out, but was sitting in the classes of some design course. And he didn't know why he was sitting there. He just wanted to. He didn't know why he was sitting there. It's later when you look back that you see the connections between things and why you did what you did in retrospect, in hindsight. But at the time you're doing it, you don't quite know. You just know that it feels correct to be doing this. And therefore, I'm going to do it. You should do it. And therefore, my suggestion to you is when something feels correct, you should go and do it. Even, because the logic, the rationality is possible to, you can make it out only in hindsight when you look back. Looking forward, you don't see it so much. And I look at my career also, pursuing a PhD, a full-time PhD when I was, 50, just 49 at that time. And at the top, and I had to drop out and go into studies and that sort of thing. I don't know why I did it at that time, but when I look back now, I know why I did it, because it added to my knowledge, etc. So, and the final bit of advice is that be calm. I think that was also something that your professor had said, that something about calmness and perseverance and calmness. And I find that the cricketer Alistair Cook, when he retired, he was one of those people who was renowned for his calmness and had a career that was up and down and so on. And he was asked, how is it that you are so calm? And he said that, ultimately I realized along the way, there's a saying that some days you're the pigeon and some days you're the statue. And today you're the pigeon, tomorrow you'll be the statue. Today you're the statue, tomorrow you'll be the pigeon. Life is like that. Don't take the highs with too much exuberance. Don't take the lows with great depression, because life goes on. Ultimately, the sun will always rise in the east and set in the west, and the world will continue to rotate and revolve, and life will always go on. Some days you're the pigeon, some days you're the statue. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's a great honor to be here with you at this important day for you. I'm very envious of you that you're starting your careers, and your careers will also be the story of India's recovery from COVID, because you'll be entering the job market at a time when things are better and on the way up. And you're the people who are going to make it happen. I envy you all. I look forward. I hope you all have great success. There's an old Russian curse that goes, may you get everything that you want. I won't curse you with that, but I would like to say that may you have interesting careers in whatever you choose to do. And I hope that this has been a useful time. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for telling us how our journey as management graduates will and can pan out, along with familiarizing us with how the Tata Group and the Tata culture is and how we should take learnings from them. Learnings of the like of, along with something that you said, that the importance of taking up challenges and striving through it. I would now hand over the dais to Sanjana. Take it over.
Thank you, Abhilash. We now invite Professor Rajesh Kumar, the Vice Dean of Academics, to conduct the session, to conclude the session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sanjana. Sorry. Thank you, Sanjana. Respected Mr. Ajit Chaudhary, our Vice Chancellor, Professor C. Rajkumar, Professor Sridhar Patnaik, Dean Professor Rajesh Chakrabarty, faculty members of JGBS, and my dear students of Batch 2020. A very good afternoon. To my dear students of Batch 2020, many congratulations and welcome to Jindal Global Business School. I am sure that you are going to have a wonderful learning experience and exciting journey with us. On commencement day, I always repeat one important message which I received at my commencement at IIM Ahmedabad. And believe me, it indeed helped me in shaping my APM journey there. So the message is, once you have decided to join JGBS, you have committed your significant number of years with us. Now it's up to you how you are going to utilize those years which you wish to cherish for the rest of your life. JGBS has excellent faculty members outstanding infrastructure, and extraordinary institutional setup, which will help you in enriching your journey. However, it is you, your attitude, and your commitment towards learning that will make a sea difference. As your Vice Dean Academics, I wish to highlight two very important points related to academics. And I know that I have communicated to you during a prestige program and also during the academic orientation sessions. But again, let me take this opportunity to reiterate its same. The first very important point about the JGBS curriculum design is that, and all what we are discussing about the different competencies, right? So our curriculum design is the way it is being designed, that's not only helping you to acquire the functional and technological competencies. And as Professor Mr. Ajit Chaudhary has said, life is not only about the business, it's all about the responsibility. And we are very proud that we are not focusing only on the business knowledge or technical knowledge, but we also talk about the different competencies like critical thinking, responsible global citizenship, teamwork, communication skill, and entrepreneurial mindset. So students, please mindful of the fact and try to acquire those competencies during your stay at JGBS. Another very important aspect of our program is the curriculum delivery. As most of you are aware, because you have started classes and you have interacted with some of the faculty members in the Prestige program, that we have a strong team of 80+ faculty members who have done their PhDs from leading management institutes in the world and across India. They are meticulously involved in your in-class activities as well as your off-class activities. So I urge you to get inspired, get engaged, and make meaningful and judicial use of your stay at JGBS. So now I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Ajit Chaudhary for his outstanding commencement lecture. I learned a lot, sir. I mean, I've been into the education for 10 years, and being a finance faculty, always talk about the different kind of financial competencies and technological competencies, but you inspired me to think beyond those business knowledge. And I'm very sure that our students have learned a lot. So you very clearly told us to become a responsible global citizen who should not only take care of the businesses, but should also be very sensitive towards the whole stakeholders, the value system, local and global issues, including CSR and sustainability. I'm happy to say, sir, that we have started a new center called Center of Responsible Management, and Center Director, Professor Anshu Sharma, will be reaching out to our students soon. I urge our students to proactively take part in these center activities, because ultimately, I mean, we should become a responsible global citizen. I express my heartfelt thanks to our Vice Chancellor, Professor C. Rajkumar, for his never-ending support and commitment towards building a world-class university. And I have a privilege to work with him from last 10 years. And believe me, sir, I learned a lot from you. And I also strongly believe that all students, including me, should learn a lot from our Vice Chancellor, who is a great example of an outstanding entrepreneurship. So I believe, if you ask me that from whom one should learn the characteristics of an entrepreneur, I would always go to you, and I will always recommend you, sir. And also, it's very interesting that I learned about the 10 P's of those success mantras today. And I'm sure our students will make note of it. Thank you, sir, for your leadership and the vision. I also wish to express my deepest gratitude to our registrar, Professor Sridhar Patnaik, and Dean Professor Rajesh Chakrabarty, for your opening and welcoming remarks. Your visionary leadership has enabled JGBS to reach new heights, and we wish to have your continued guidance and support. At the end, my profound gratitude to all wonderful students and their parents who have shown faith in JGBS and believing in our philosophy of teaching and learning. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sanjana.
Thank you, sir. I now thank everyone for joining in for today's commencement lecture, and we once again welcome the batch of 2020, and we look forward to meeting and welcome you all on campus very soon. So thank you, everyone. This has been great.